Let's make some duplicates. But first, coffee. Look at that, baby. Yum. Okay, we've got our piece nice and centered. We're going to start pushing this down. You're going to cup your hand over the top third of your clay. Stick your thumb up of your left hand, touching your thumb to the palm of your right hand. You're going to rock that edge of your hand back and forth, keeping your hands together and pressing on the side so you don't get a mushroom. You're going to go down to about a hockey puck shape, and then I'm going to grab my sponge. At this point, I put my sponge in my right hand and I keep it there the rest of the time I'm throwing. So the first thing I want to do is create an opening. I'm going to use my middle finger of my right hand. I'm going to rest my arm on my leg. I'm going to put my left hand on top of my right hand, and then I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to push down till I still have enough clay to create a floor of whatever it is I'm creating. Now the depth of that floor you can change. For this, I would like to have a foot on it. If I'm going to have a foot, I'm going to leave it a little thicker. If I'm not going to have a foot, I'm going to leave it as thin as I can, but still has a good sturdy base. When you open your piece, you want to keep in mind the shape that your pot was once you pushed it all down into that hockey puck shape. So if you put your fingers above it, and you could have say 6 fingers, your next bowl, you're going to want to have 6 fingers in that one also. Now, if it's smaller or bigger, you just need to remember the size of it, because that is going to help when you go to make your next one to make them the same. You want to pull them down the same amount and open them the same. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to go straight in front of us. Our left hand is going to be in that C position. Our thumb is going to be on the outside of our clay. Our fingers are going to be on the inside. Our arm is resting on our leg, or the upper arm is tucked into your body. Now your right hand is going to be resting on top of that rim. You want it to touch your index finger and your thumb. The sponge should be butted right up to both of those fingers, and then pull that hand slowly up. That left hand is doing just about all of the work. The right hand is just supporting the rim the whole way. This pull you only do once, but it is one of the most important pulls to be able to get a lot of clay up. Now we're going to get the water out of the inside. When you're doing this, make sure you're not doing this little swiping motion like that in there. You want to just hold it in one spot and let the wheel do the work. If you swipe it, you're going to have an asymmetrical rim. Obviously, we don't want to have that. So we're going to just hold it steady. We don't want to thin any areas that don't need to be thinned. Now I'm going to regroup my rim, and then I'm going to make another pull. When I make this pull, I try to keep my hands tucked in so that I'm at about a 3 o'clock, between 6 o'clock and 3 o'clock placement. So if you're looking at your clay, that would be 12, 6, and 3. So right between those two. If your hand's going past that 3 o'clock mark, you're not in the right placement. Your body is not aligned quite right. So your arms should be tucked into your body so it can't go past that 3 o'clock. You're going to press in with that outside hand right at the bat, pull that clay up, and then both hands together will go all the way to the rim. Once you get to the rim, regroup it, and then get the water out of the inside. You're going to do this same movement until your walls are the thickness that you want them. If you're having a hard time getting your piece taller, you're doing this movement and your piece just stays the same height, then your hands probably are not straight across from each other. If they're off just a little bit, your clay will not get taller. So try to align your hands, the inside hand with the outside hand, and make sure they're directly across from each other. Also, remember to keep your hands touching each other. That's going to really help your alignment. So make sure they're touching each other. You've got your arms braced against your body somehow, either resting on your legs or your sides. And then you're going to make that pull up slowly and steady with your hands. And then when you get to the rim, I like to regroup that rim every time. Then I'm going to get the water out of the inside. And then I'll make another pull if I need. At this point, my walls are a good thickness. So I'm going to start shaping this. When you shape, you can use your hands or a rib. I'm going to start with my hand. My outside hand is going to support the rim or any area of the clay that I don't want it to go out any further. My inside hand is going to push out to give it a nice rounded shape. I'm just pressing out anywhere I want it to be a little bit bulgier, a little fatter, and then I'm going to just kind of smooth out anything that I'm not liking. Once I've kind of got a basic shape going, I'm going to grab a rib. Let's see if I can find it here in my little mess. I've got my bull rib. This is the yellow mud tool bull rib, and it's about a medium firmness. Each color kind of tells you what kind of firmness it is. These are such a great shape for so many things. I use it for other things besides bowls, but I know it was made to be a bull rib. But once you have that shape that you were looking for and the height that you wanted it, once that first bowl is really to your liking, then we're gonna use a paintbrush and prop it so that our next bowl will be the same height and width. Now you can do a whole bunch of different things. Say you wanted to do mugs that all looked alike, or you wanted to do vases that were all the same height, or you could many different things. I like this for bowls, especially if I'm just doing a couple of them. I will take a little wad of clay and I will stick it to my bucket. That way I have something to stick this paintbrush to that will hold it. You can use anything. People use their splash pan. You could prop something else up there. I just use the edge of my bucket. I take this wad of clay. I want to get this stuck pretty good because if I accidentally bump it, I don't want it to move. So I get it wadded up there and enough that that paintbrush is going to stay in place. I like the paintbrush because it has soft bristle ends here. You could use a pin tool. I've seen people do that before. The problem I have with the pin tool is if you accidentally get too close to it, it's going to cut your pot. With the paintbrush, it just brushes it a little bit. So it works well for me. I buy these ones that have a really long handle. That way, if I can't find something I'm going to be propping it on, I have plenty of length to work with. So I get that nice and propped up there. I'm going to want the end of my paintbrush just barely touching the very tip of the rim. Now, my next piece, I'm going to try to get it right in that exact same spot when I finish the next one. So I'll take this one off, and I'm going to go through that same process of throwing, making sure both of your pieces of clay are the same weight, and you're doing the same movements with them. So you've got them centered, you pull them down, you open them the same. That is really important. If you open one of them wider than the other or less, you're either going to get your piece a lot taller or a lot shorter. So keep that in mind when you're opening. You don't really need the base of a bowl to be very big unless you're making like a dog bowl. That would have a very large base. But a cereal bowl or soup bowl is going to have a smaller base. So open it the same, and then you're going to shape it as similar as you can get it. Now with these two, it's not going to matter a whole lot because they will be squished together a little bit once they're all attached. And you can watch my next video on that. But I hope you enjoyed this. I can't wait to see you in the studio. please like and follow.